Okay, hello. How's today? My name is Victor. Welcome to the channel. This is SOUTECH Academy. I'm going to be introducing you to the second level CCNA curriculum. So this is the routing, switching, and wireless essentials. So if you are new to the channel, you could check the channel. You're going to see the comprehensive training for the CCNA level 1. And also, if you don't have access to the CISCO Learning Academy, do well to fill the form. You're going to be given access and you'll be given a token. Once you're signed up to the class, you could run this class remotely or you could run this class in any of our offices. So SOUTECH is a CISCO Academy partner. So this is the second level to you having good knowledge in doing your CISCO Certified Network Associate. Okay, so the question is, what is the routing, switching, and wireless essential course about? So at the end of your course, you're going to get this badge, right? So it verifies that you have successfully completed the switching, routing, and wireless essential course. And you would have done the labs using any of the physical hardwares in any of our offices, or if you run this class remotely, you could do that using the Cisco packet tracer, which mimics exactly what you're going to be having offline. So it's a course that teaches you skills on access connectivity. Access will mean at the access layer, all of your end devices like your PCs, like your mobile phones, like your printers, all of those things that will actually have access to the network. How do you confirm connectivity? Then, of course, access security. We're also going to be looking at first hop redundancy, right? Hop is just simply a, let me put it in a very simpler way, something that looks like a network. And if I'm going to say my second hop, I'm going to be saying the next phase in my network. If I have 5, 10 persons connected to a particular router, so that is one hop. If I have another router, that's going to be my second hop. If I have a third router connected to some other persons, that's going to be the third hop. So we say a router is that device that's going to help us connect one network to the other or help us route traffic from one part of a network to the other. So when you say first hop or you say the first hop, I'm talking about all of the systems within the very first network. Then we look at high availability. So in security, for instance, when we set up networks and set up IT infrastructure, one of our very core goals is, aside security and integrity of our network, we're looking at availability. Then we're going to be looking at, want to make sure that whoever that is authorized that should have access to any of the IT infrastructure should do so. Then we're going to be looking at IP services, routing, switching, wireless LAN controller. So in introduction to networking in CCNA 1, we were just concerned about understanding the concept of networking, understanding the end device, intermediary devices, and our connecting media. But here we're taking things a step further. We need to understand the concept of switching. How does switching occur? And if you're going to take this course a little bit a step higher, when we're going to be looking at CCNA 3, or where we're going to be doing cyber security, you understand what are those susceptibility of attack that happens at the switch layer, layer 2, what are those ones that happen at the routing wireless layer, that is layer 3. So understanding how these things happen, the protocols that work within these layers will help you do security or even do cloud computing very well. So who should attend this course? So if you have core skills and knowledge about basic networking, or you've taken the CCNA level 1, then you could do this course. Or if you're a professional, you want to make a career in networking domain, or if you are aiming to get the CCNA certification. Some of the skills you're going to acquire in this training is that you're able to work with routers. You're able to work with switches. You're able to work with wireless devices. You're able to configure them. You're able to set up VLANs, virtual LANs, right? Virtual LANs will help us segment our networks. They're able to troubleshoot redundancy, right? You don't want a network that doesn't make room for redundancy to help for availability. We want to make sure that if we have a router that is done, can we have failover? Can we have backup? Can we have redundancy? Can we have another gateway through which we're able to connect to the next network or to the internet? They're also going to look at STP, the spanning tree protocol, and of course, Ether channel, where you are having more than one port aggregated to help us have a larger bandwidth. They're also going to learn some critical thinking and problem-solving skills, right? To work with real equipment, right? And of course, packet tracer. Then we have roughly about 14 modules or so, or rather 16 modules. So the very first module is we're going to learn how to do basics device configuration. If you have a phone, if you have a switch, if you have a router, if you have a printer, how do you configure it on the network? These are the basic things you're going to learn just in module 1. In module 2, we're going to be looking at switching concepts, right? We're going to be looking at switching concepts. How to switch forward packets, right? Because at this level, we should be able to differentiate between the switch and the router. Then in module 3, we're going to be looking at VLANs. How do VLANs help us create a more secured network, a more segmented network, a network that have good managing, that is kind of manageable. So we're going to look at the concept of VLANs. Then of course, inter-VLAN routing. Because if you have a switch that have VLAN, say 10, that's the idea of the VLAN. And you have 10 persons on that VLAN, they are all in marketing debt. What about if you have VLAN 11 and you have all the persons in IT in that VLAN? How do you route traffic from VLAN 10 to VLAN 11? So we're going to understand those concepts and how to do that, how to do inter-VLAN routing. We're going to learn STP concepts, spanning tree protocols, and how it can help us enable redundancy. Then in module 6, we're going to look at Ether channel, right? It's a very important concept in networking. How do we implement Ether channel and let it aid load balancing, let it aid redundancy? So anytime you hear the concept, you hear the word Ether channel, you're just trying to say, if I have 5 ports on my switch, how do I aggregate them? How do I join them together and provide a bigger bandwidth, provide a more larger space for moving my packets across? So it just allows grouping of several physical Ethernet links just to create one logical Ethernet link. Imagine I have port 1, port 2, port 3, port 4, port 5 on my switch. I link all the 4 ports together and I can use them or see them as just one port. Then we're also going to look at DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Very, very critical protocol within the, I think that operates at layer 3, because that's where we have our ARP, our address resolution protocol. That's where we have our routers. And that's what can help us assign addresses. You know, we have several types of addresses within our network. We have the physical address, right? The physical address operates at layer 2. I know in CCNA 1, you would have learned about the OSI model, right? I normally say, please do not take sweet potatoes alone. The physical layer, the data link layer, and of course, the network layer. Please do not. So N will start from down up. So N is the network layer. So how do I make sure that I can assign IP addresses to all of those items I have within my LAN? So that's what we're going to be learning in the DHCP configuration. Of course, first hop redundancy protocol, right? That's what FHRP means, right? So we're going to explain how FHRP provides default gateway service in redundant network. In CCNA 3, the level 3, we're going to be looking at quality of service and how this plays a role, because redundancy has to do with availability. Availability has to do with quality of service, right? Then module 10, we're going to be exploring LAN security concepts, right? Because we're trying to lay the foundation for students that want to do security, that want to do cloud computing, and other higher stuff. In module 11, we're going to be looking at switch security configurations. How do I configure my switch? How do I implement some basic access controls? How do I say, okay, Hassan, this person's so VLAN will not be able to have access to so IP address and the rest. Then we'll start looking at WLAN concepts. Sorry, WLAN concepts, right? So we're also going to be looking at how do we do configurations for that. We understand some basic routing concepts in module 14. Then in module 15, we'll start looking at IP static routing, right? In combination of DHCP, we're going to say, how do we do static IP routing? How do we do dynamic IP routing? Of course, both for IP version 4 and IP version 6. We all know that MAC address is, I think, 48-bit. IP version 4 is 32-bit. IP version 6 is 128-bit. So how do we even verify connectivity? How do we troubleshoot? If we've implemented an IP address on a particular router, how do we troubleshoot all of these implementations that we've done? So the CISCO CCNA 2 routing, switching, and wireless essential course, the very practical hands-on course. If you don't have access to the CISCO management platform, do well to inbox, make your comment, fill the form, get to any of our instructors. You're going to be given access to the platform. You're able to take your exam, your test, your quiz, your exam, do the labs. You have roughly about, I think about 30 or 40 something labs in the entire 16 modules. Once you're done with that, you could get your verified CISCO badge. So the course comes with projects, you have some research, and of course, after exam, you could get the CISCO Academy certification. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And if you have friends interested in networking, in security, in cloud computing, do well to share this channel with them. See you in class.